If you're a creative professional, you may identify with the artist archetype, which is totally fine. But there's 3 limiting beliefs that come from identifying with this archetype, and they could be holding you back in your professional creative career, from a more successful business, from feeling better and not being overworked, and all sorts of things. Ask me how I know. If you've never met me before, my name is Louisa. I'm a writer, I'm an educator, and I run a creative business, and I also coach other creatives. So I want to talk about these 3 limiting beliefs that come from the artist archetype and what you can replace them with. So first of all, I just gave it away, the struggling artist. So the limiting belief of the struggling artist is that you need to work extremely hard for extremely long hours to produce anything of quality. Now, this shows up as overwork, as overstretching yourself, taking on a project thinking that it's going to be 20 hours, and then because you just don't want to hand it over until you feel like it's come too easily, it's been too simple for you, because this comes easily to you and you're a creative professional and you have a zone of genius, you tinker with it and you add all sorts of elements that make it really hard because you feel like you need to struggle to charge people for your work. So that's the limiting belief there, is that I need to struggle to charge for my work. And what you can replace it with is thinking it's better for everyone if I work in my zone of genius and keep things simple. The second limiting belief that you might be taking on because you identify with this artist archetype is that everything has to be perfect. Now, this comes from being a creative professional, taking pride in your work again, and wanting things to be of the highest quality. The whole thing about the artist archetype is they are creating something that lasts. It's a legacy. And I felt this perfectionism with my book, A Letter from Paris. It was never ready. It was never going to be perfect. But at some point I did have to hand it over and say, here it is, here's the draft, so that the rest of the publishing, project could move on. And so if I hadn't, said to myself this mindset shift, which is done is better than perfect, I would never have handed that over to my editor. And yes, okay, there are some mistakes in my book. There's going to be mistakes in your work. It will never, ever, ever be perfect. So just remember that it's never going to be perfect, and done is better than perfect. Okay, so the third piece is poverty. This is huge for artists, creative professionals, book coaches, writers, photographers, anyone who does something that comes from this higher realm of you that actually would do it even if you weren't paid. Now, this is really beautiful because it's why you do what you do. It's why it's so satisfying. It's why it gives you such a feeling of flow and a feeling of a high. But it's quite a problem when you're charging, 20 cents for something that should be $200. Or if you figured out your hourly rate for a project, you're charging $10 an hour when you have 20 years experience in the profession. Now, something I've done to reframe this, because I've struggled with this a lot, because with a lot of my work, I would do it and I do it regardless of whether or not I'm being paid, because it gives me so much joy and fulfillment and satisfaction. Something that has helped me to reframe this is to think about the value of art in your everyday life. Can you imagine what life would be like without movies, without music, without photography, without beauty, without literature, without books, without song? It would not be worth living. And that is the value that you contribute as an artist. Whether your creative profession is making an extremely beautiful cake that no one else can make, or writing a book, or writing articles, or providing some other service that has a creative element to it, okay? So think about all the creative pieces of your day that have come from an artist and how valuable and precious they are. And that can help you to reframe that you shouldn't charge for your work, and that completely limiting belief that, I shouldn't be paid money for this because it comes so easily to me. So let's sum up those 3 limiting beliefs that creative professionals tend to take on from the artist archetype and what you can replace them with. First of all, the vow of poverty. Artists shouldn't charge for their work. My work isn't of value. It's not like I'm, healing someone from cancer, blah, 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 blah. Replace that with, my work is valuable, my work is precious. Imagine a life without art. Imagine a day-to-day existence without art. The second limiting belief is the struggling artist. So thinking that you need to struggle and really slog your way through something to be able to charge for it or for it to be of value. Replace that with thinking about how much time you have spent learning your craft, getting good at your craft, studying others who have done your craft, to be able to take 10 minutes now to do something that would take a beginner, say, 2 weeks. And the other piece that you need to drop from your creative professional mindset is the thought that you need to be perfect, that the work needs to be perfect before you can start marketing it, selling it, before you can hand it over. This is going to hold you back in so many ways. So just repeat the mantra that I love to repeat to myself, which is that done is better than perfect. No one's going to see it if you keep thinking that you're going to just polish it one more time before you can send it off. Done is better than perfect. So let me know in the comments which one of these you identify with. If this has helped you, I would love to know, because I'm really thinking about the artist archetype this week and how we can move on from the negative elements and take on the positive elements, which is that an artist creates something to last that's beautiful, and it's something that no one else can create, and it's created in a way that only you can create it. And there's a lot of beauty and uniqueness to that. It's why we're here. So let me know if this has helped you. I would love to know.